Okay, we are now live.
Okay. Okay, I make the time now 2 o'clock. So good afternoon and warm welcome to the Rushcliffe Borough Council Cabinet meeting for the month of June. I'd just like to remind everyone on this Cabinet meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. A recording of this meeting will be available afterwards on the Council's YouTube channel. Today's Cabinet will be considering an exempt item, which is item 8, covering the Abbey Road update. For that part of the meeting, the public will be excluded and the live stream on the YouTube will end after item 7 has been concluded. In addition, under the Local Authorities Executive Arrangements, Meetings and Access to Information UK Regulations 2012, other people may film, record, tweet or blog from this meeting. The use of such of these images or sound recordings is not under the Council's control. Could I ask all councillors who've joined the meeting to observe, who are observing, to ensure that their microphones are muted at all times and their video is hidden as well. In addition, all participants are reminded that to ensure that the audio for the meeting is as clear as possible, all microphones should be muted as a default setting to keep the background noise to a minimum. So first of all, starting the meeting now, could I ask our participants to confirm that they can see and hear proceedings and speak. So if we could start with members of the Cabinet. Councillor Mason?
Yes, I can see and hear you.
Councillor Edavine?
Yes, I can see and hear you.
Councillor Upton?
Yes, I can see and hear.
Councillor Moore?
Yes, I can see and hear you.
Councillor English?
Yes, I can see and hear.
Lovely, thank you. And then I'll just ask the officers participating in the meeting today, plus the Chief Executive.
Yes, Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. Mr. Linfield.
Yes, Councillor Robinson.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, Councillor Robinson.
Ms. Ashmore.
Yes, Councillor Robinson.
And Ms. Tambini.
Yes, Councillor Robinson.
Okay, and then just confirm the 2 group leaders are in attendance for item 4. So could I ask that Councillor Gray?
I can see and hear you.
Thank you. And Councillor Thomas?
Yes, I'm here as well.
Thank you. Could I ask any Cabinet member who wants to speak on an item should indicate their desire to speak by raising their hand and keeping it raised, and each will be invited to speak by the Chairman. When you are asked to speak, could you make sure you unmute your microphone by clicking the microphone symbol on the bottom left of the screen? And once you have spoken, please make sure that you actually remute the microphone again. And in respect of voting, I will call out each Cabinet member and in turn you will verbally confirm your vote to me. Votes will be recorded but will not be added to the minutes and simply record whether the motion was carried or was it failed. So I would now like to just go to the first item on the agenda. Apologies for absence.
No apologies, Chair.
Thank you. Any declarations of interest? No. And if I could have a proposer, please, for the minutes held on the 12th of May 2020, set on page 1 and 10. Proposer, Councillor Mason. Seconder for the minutes, Councillor Moore. I just need to go through those to accept those. Councillor English? Accepted?
Yes, accepted.
Councillor Upton?
Yes, accepted.
Councillor Moore there, I accept them as well. So that's carried unanimously, Mr. Tambini?
Yes, it is, Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, okay. Lovely. Moving on to citizens' questions. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Item 4 is opposition group leaders' questions. So could I start with Councillor Gray, please?
Hello. My question is, as we've previously discussed in Rushcliffe, is in a far healthier financial state than many councils. With the current government support only covering 32% of what the council has paid out during the crisis, what calls will this council be making to government to make sure the shortfall is made up?
You're quite right, Councillor Gray, to highlight there is quite a severe deficit at the moment, which obviously reflects the crisis. The Chief Executive and myself are in regular liaison with both the DCN, the LGA, and also East Midlands councils as well. We've also had a one-to-one meeting on the 22nd of May with Robert Jenrick, the Secretary of State, where we have impressed on him about this deficit and what measures the government are looking at to fund and cover it. I'd just like to highlight that we did see quite an uplift on the second tranche of funding that was in excess of £1 million, which did actually help. But obviously we still have a deficit in there. Just also to add, the Councillor Section 151 officer is also in dialogue with the Ministry as well. We give regular updates to the government so they're aware in terms of where our finance position is in there. But obviously, as you say, we are in a good financial position, but we are keeping the pressure on using our links with the DCN, LGA and the other authorities as well to impress on the government about the deficit, and we're hoping to see that certainly improve. Just to add on there, Councillor Gray, we've got a budget that we are going to be releasing in September. Budget workshops obviously will happen before that. We've been put right across the all groups into that. And we're hopefully to see progress by then, but obviously that budget will then reflect our current financial position. Do you have a second question, Councillor Gray?
I don't today. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you very much. Councillor Thomas, if you'd like to ask your question, please.
Hello, yes. My question is about the grant mentioned in paragraph 4.5.2 of the budget update. And I'm just wanting to know really a bit more information about how it's going to be publicised and allocated to make sure that high streets and commercial areas across the whole borough will be supported in reopening safely.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. I'll respond to that. The Council will be looking at how this European grant can be used across the whole borough to minimise risks and maximise safe environments for everyone as businesses reopen. We also hope that town and parish councils will play a part in helping their communities to reopen safely. In terms of publicity, we will be looking at consultations with the growth boards in the meetings in the next few weeks. But the grant itself is a European grant and it is not directly available to businesses. It's to be used to aid businesses.
You have a second question, Ms Thomas?
Do you have any idea what sort of things you'll be using for to aid businesses if Rushcliffe is actually spending the money?
Okay, this will be used in conjunction with the considerable amount of money that is available to businesses both through the county and through the borough council. So we can help businesses more directly, but this particular piece of money, because it's a European funding, comes with multiple restrictions and will be used to, I think the best way to use it, we're still looking at how we can best use it, but I think the answer is that it will be used to create safer environments in open spaces, but we're still looking at exactly how we will spend it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can we move to item 5? Do we have any citizens' questions, Ms Tambini? No.
Councillor Robinson, we don't.
Thank you very much. Can we move to item 6, which is the Chapel Lane development? Councillor Edavine.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. This report is the next stage in the development of the Chapel Lane site in Bingham and the delivery of new leisure, community facilities and offices for the local residents of Bingham and the surrounding villages. Before I propose the recommendation, I'd like to clarify that the Cabinet report was published prior to the meeting of the Member Development Group, but it was made clear to the group that any wishes expressed by the group would be reflected when the report was discussed at Cabinet. The recommendation itself will be amended to cover the views of the Member Working Group, and I will detail that with the proposals of the recommendation. First and foremost, however, notwithstanding any impact of COVID-19 on the borough, it is recognised that these new facilities are an important part of the infrastructure of an expanding Bingham community. The Council has an appetite to ensure that we continue to deliver major projects such as this, and it should be recognised, however, that questions are being raised, reflected by members of the group, on the office market of the future. At this stage, we are looking to approve the step of detailed tender based on approved REBA Stage 4 design and cost plans. Some costs have risen, but the overall cost is still in line with the original budget of 20 million, and variations to forecast costs are detailed in paragraph 7 under financial implications. The recommendation also covers the advice given by our outside consultants to consider when the tender is issued, taking into account cost uncertainties in the short term as the building industry stabilises on its return to work from COVID-19 impacts. It also covers that the member group agreed that the preferred procurement route was through the procurement partnership framework as opposed to the OJEU, the European tendering process. The report finally recommends that a basic asset protection agreement is entered into with Network Rail. This is standard practice to protect both parties when work is being carried out in proximity to rail lines, and I therefore propose the recommendation in Part 2, repeated in Part 9, and amended in Parts C and E to reflect the views of the member group, and that is as follows. It's recommended that Cabinet approves the REBA Stage 4 design and cost plan recommended by the member group, as detailed in Appendix 1 and 2, which is in line with the approved budget. B, approves the procurement strategy as recommended by the member group to use the procurement partnerships framework. C, and this is amended, delegates responsibility for proceeding to tender to the Executive Manager for Communities in consultation with the Section 151 officer and portfolio holders for business and transformation and finance. D, agrees that a report be brought back to Cabinet with the outcome of any tender exercise to seek approval for any phasing of the build, the procurement timetable, and to appoint a construction contractor. And finally, E, delegates negotiation and completion of the basic asset protection agreement with Network Rail to the Executive Manager for Communities in consultation with the Section 151 officer, the monitoring officer, and portfolio holders for business and transformation and finance. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please?
We do, Councillor Robinson. Yourself?
Councillor English, thank you.
Thank you. I shan't repeat sort of the details Councillor Eddyveen's already mentioned, but it is important for Bingham and its catchment area to have a good leisure facility, as the current leisure centre has been deemed unfit for purpose. The proposed plans will be a valuable community asset, not just for sport, but includes office space for an income and the inclusion of a large community hall receiving major funding from the Bingham Community Chest and 106 contributions. Of course, COVID-19 has created a huge hit on budgets, and we have to be really mindful of that. But Rushcliffe Borough Council are dedicated in their commitment in providing new indoor leisure facilities, supported by the excellent relationship with the Two-Till Academy for continued use of the outdoor sports amenities there. This report details the work done to date and continued positivity and agreements to all levels to make this happen, and it needs to happen. As in all major projects, there are risks associated. Some are manageable, but others are highlighted as the unforeseen. but options to make revisions to the design, etc., are in place to meet any emerging factors. I therefore second Councillor Edivine and recommended that items 2A to E are accepted and bring these endorsed plans to reality by taking the project to the next stage towards the delivery of the Bingham Master Plan and to acknowledge the hard work undertaken by everyone involved in the project to date. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to add, obviously they're the amended recommendations as set out by Councillor Edivine on there that have been seconded. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, I think I'd just like to add my thanks to the member group working cross-party, because I think it's now been about a year since that was established, and you've met about 6 times, and it's absolutely really important that we've had input now from all consultees as well into this. So it's been very much community-led, and while these are very difficult financial times, I think we're showing a very big statement here and commitment to desperately try and get this project off the ground and get the very best for our residents in Bingham and all the supporting villages. So I'm delighted to support this this next move and look forward to seeing that progress with the tender responses and this coming back to Cabinet sometime in the near future. So as set out by Councillor Edivine with the amendments, which I presume they're going to be documented, those Councillor Edivine, aren't they, and put out, yeah, for the records. Seconded by Councillor English. So I'll just go through the Cabinet members then. So Councillor Upton.
Yes, I support the proposal.
Thank you. Councillor Moore.
Yes, I support the proposal.
Thank you. Councillor Mason. Unmute yourself, Councillor Mason. No, you still haven't unmuted yourself.
Okay, now?
Yes.
Sorry. I too support it, yes.
Thank you. I also support that. So that's carried unanimously with the proposed and seconds as well. Okay, thank you very much. If we move on now to item 7, which is the finance update. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. This is my second report on the position of the budget arising from the result of COVID-19. As expected, the numbers have been changing in terms of the range of prospective outcomes in relation to the current financial year, although not significantly. I anticipate continued uncertainty dependent on further spikes of COVID and the speed of the recovery of the economy. Local policy decisions will also have a bearing on the budget, particularly reintroduction of car parking charges and reopening of leisure centres. Budget movements will be continue to reported like this to every cabinet, and a revised budget will be reported to full council in September, when we should have a little bit more clarity. We are all aware of the graveness of the current situation, particularly for our local businesses and for our community. It's important that we all pull together to ensure Rushcliffe remains a great place to live and work and retains its commitment to health, leisure and successful businesses. As I've stated previously, the Council welcomes the additional funding from central government. What is clear, however, is that even in the short term, it will be insufficient to meet the budget shortfall. As stated in paragraph 1.2 of the report, the budget gap is expected to be at least 2.87 million. There are variables within that report. And we've got current government funding of 1.23 million, which meets 43% of our lower level of our shortfall. The various potential scenarios for the budget are shown in Appendix A. Just like to focus on a few revenue pressures that we've got. Car parking is the first one, and the report shows the implication of loss of car parking income and extrapolates over 1 year. It's difficult to take that figure for 1 year because we're hoping fairly soon to get the car parks open. What we don't know is how many people are going to actually use the car parks. My own feeling is there won't be so many people in the car parks as there has been previously, particularly in the short term. But even now, with that, we are several £100,000 down on takings on the car parks. But hopefully, probably within the next month or so, that should start bringing us some income. Appendix B highlights 4 months losses from development control, building control and community events, totaling 289,000. We also show a loss of rental income from our tenants of £160,000. Now, we're also incurring additional costs estimated at 1.485 million over 4 months. And this is mainly in relation to additional costs for leisure, agency staff for waste collection, and extra housing accommodation to support the homeless. Discussions with Parkwood, our leisure providers, are ongoing as to the impact in the short to medium term on the leisure position and the budget impact. Appendix B summarises the different pressures on budget for the first 4 months of the year as a result of COVID-19. Now, capital, we've just been talking about that in the previous subject. Capital receipts, both the timing and the amount expected, are expected to differ from what we were due to receive. For example, the money we were due to receive from Sharp Hill is already delayed. The viability of existing projects will need to be reassessed. For example, the impact on the leisure contract and any potential consequences on timing over the Bingham Hub. There is also significant uncertainty surrounding the construction market and industry prices, but we will have a better idea of market conditions when we eventually go out for tenders for the Bingham Hub. And I'd like to talk about council tax and business rates. As of the 24th of May, council tax receipts were down £880,000. Now, that's not all ours, but reductions such as this will cause a deficit in the collection fund that will need to be recovered over the next 2 financial years, therefore affecting future income streams and the medium-term financial strategy. It's important to remember that the county, as the largest preceptor, bears the biggest burden of the likely council tax collection fund deficit. Business rates are largely unaffected as a result of the significant amount of reliefs, around about 9 million, granted to the retail, leisure and hospitality sector. We expect this position to change as the COVID-19 impact develops throughout the year and financial relief is tapered down. We have been very keen to ensure business grants have been paid quickly, to ensure businesses get much needed resources so they can continue to exist. The latest figures show in excess of 17 million paid out to around 1,500 businesses, which is 88% of the eligible businesses in Rushcliffe. Furthermore, from the 1st of June, the council has launched its discretionary scheme. So far, we've had, well, up to yesterday, 67 applications currently being considered for a fund of £972,000. As this scheme is discretionary, it has created challenges both in development and implementation. And at this stage, I would again like to thank all the staff working on these schemes. The amount of work is huge and it's all on top of their normal duties. But I can say from personal conversations, emails and phone calls that I have received that Rushcliffe stand out as going the extra mile in support of local businesses. Paragraph 4.51 focuses on the economy and particularly our approach to assisting with the recovery of the economy in Rushcliffe, something I know my colleagues in the Cabinet are very focused on. It is proposed a report on this will be prepared for consideration by the Growth and Development Scrutiny Group. The council has managed its resources well and as a consequence has in the past held a healthy level of reserves. This enables us, at least in the short to medium term, to deal with this economic crisis. But the council's financial resilience going forward is now severely tested and will require a revised medium-term financial strategy to deliver its corporate objectives. A report is planned for full council in September. With that report, I would like to move the recommendations, which I will now read. Recommendation A notes that the revised financial impact of COVID-19 on the Council's MTFS and the inclusion of these estimates and use of reserves and balances in the revised budget due to be taken to full Council. Recommendation B supports a report on business support and economic recovery to be considered by the Growth and Development Scrutiny Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Mason.
Thank you. I believe that this report is it's wide-ranging and shows some uncertainty, but it also shows our commitment to the future. Difficult decisions may have to be made, and I'm sure that they will at some stage, but it does show our way forward. We may have to respond quickly to changing times, and there's nothing so certain as at the moment things do change and can change very quickly. But also it allows us to be flexible in these changing times. And I believe that flexibility is really part of what this report is about. It does leave us some room for manoeuvre to change, and it is something that Rushcliffe has always done. But therefore, I am very pleased in seconding the recommendations on page 31, and they are going to be difficult times, and I can't say that I look forward to them, but I'm sure that we will face them in the way that they need to be faced. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. I think just to echo some of the comments from Councillor Moore, and obviously reflecting the question actually from Councillor Gray earlier as well about the funding. And what is going to be key is that we do get government to assist not just ourselves, obviously our partners such as the County Council, Police, Fire, etc., because this is actually unprecedented times, and it's going to be crucial, as I say, that coming up to our budget in September, that we do get some confidence that we'll get the income streams up. I think hopefully July we're going to see more businesses back in play. Things like our car parking, leisure centres, etc. hopefully can come into play, and we'll start to see the revitalisation of those income lines, and also obviously with the capital receipts as well coming forward. So I'd just like to thank Councillor Peter Linfield and his team for their work. I know it's incredibly challenging at the moment, particularly on the business side, in getting those grants out to the business that need the cash, as well as obviously keeping the fingers on the pulse of the business as it goes forward, and also all the management team I know who are working very closely. It really is a great testament to this authority that we've come into this with very strong finances. I say we've got no borrowings, and as much as this is a challenging situation, we know that there's a lot of councils in a lot more difficult situations than we are at the moment. Having said all that, the next few months are going to be crucial for us, and as Councillor Mason said and Councillor Moore, there's going to be some difficult decisions we've got to make, and we've got to make those decisions. But hopefully we'll see the new revitalisation as we go forward. Again, as Councillor Moore said, that we are absolutely focused and dedicated to supporting our businesses and our residents in getting this economy back. And Rushcliffe's got to play a very big part in that. And hopefully, as I say, that we'll see those new springs of growth coming very, very shortly. So just those recommendations that Councillor Moore has put forward there, recommendations 2A and 2B, seconded by Councillor Mason. If I could just ask Councillor English, first of all, for your vote.
Yes, I support both recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Edvine.
Yes, I support the recommendations.
Yeah, Councillor Upton.
I support the recommendations.
Then obviously Councillor Mason, seconded, and obviously Councillor Moore and myself. So it's carried unanimously. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, moving on to the next part of the agenda. It's the exclusion of the public, and I just have to formally state that to move that under Regulation 21B of the Local Authorities Executive Arrangements, Access to Information, England Regulations 2000, the public to be excluded from the meeting for the following item of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. Could I just ask Mrs. Sull, are we happy to go ahead now with that item? Are you happy?
Yes, Chair, I'm just checking that the live stream has been turned off. Yeah, that's fine, Chair.
Okay then. So item 8, Councillor Edivine.